get together, and I understand accommodations for that meeting are underway. As soon as we hear more details, we'll be sure to let all of you know.
And just a quick follow-up. We know as of right now there is no ceasefire in place. We've seen Russia continue its attacks on Ukraine. What indications is the president getting from Putin that he wants to have this meeting with Zelensky soon?
Because he spoke to him directly yesterday.
And he expressed that
Haley,
sooner rather than later.
He spoke to that directly yesterday, and the president put that in his statement that he gave to all of you, the news media, knowing you'd be asking following that conversation in the effort of transparency. Haley.
Hey, thanks, Caroline. You made clear note of U.S. boots on the ground. Is the president considering U.S. boots in there as a form of a security guarantee?
Look, that was something the president mentioned on his interview this morning. It is an option and a possibility. I won't certainly rule out anything as far as military options that the president has at his disposal. I'll let him do that. I can tell you he's definitively ruled out boots on the ground. Sure.
Thanks, Cara. Just about the possible venue for the talks, can you confirm that Putin suggested Moscow as a venue for the bilateral talks? And if so, doesn't that indicate that Putin is perhaps not serious about this, that he's suggesting a venue that there's no way that Zelensky is going to go to?
Look, I'm not going to litigate the private conversations between the president and President Putin, aside from what the president himself has already spoken on. But I can tell you there are many options that are being discussed by our national security team right now with both parties.
Can you give us an indication of where?
I just told you we'll provide you details as soon as we can. Thank you for trying, though. Libby.
Thank you, Caroline. I wanted to ask about the National Guard troops. How is the White House coordinating with how they're being placed in D.C., what areas? And then also, how long should people here in the district anticipate the National Guard to be on the ground patrolling the streets?
I don't have a timeline for you, Libby, but we will keep you posted on that. I think the president, as you know, and this administration, he came to this briefing room with members of his cabinet to lay out the rationale and the reasoning for federalizing the National Guard here in Washington, D.C., and for our work with the Metropolitan Police Department to make our district safer. We've seen violent crime has taken the lives of far too many residents here in our nation's capital, and the president wants to make it safe again. And as for the coordination efforts, this interagency team is meeting and talking daily. In fact, there's a meeting taking place right now in the West Wing with members of the interagency task force to continue to discuss not just the National Guard deployment, but also how we can continue to remove public safety threats off of the streets of Washington, which, as the numbers I just showed you prove, they are doing every single night. I will just reiterate, 465 total arrests and counting since the start of this operation. I believe 11 or 12 days ago. I'll have to check the calendar, but those are pretty remarkable results. If not for this task force and their high level of coordination and the leadership of this president, there would have been 465 more violent criminals on the streets of this capital that you all live in every day. So I think we should all be very grateful for that. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. 3 questions about the D.C. crackdown.
Sure.
First, I was wondering if you could clarify something President Trump said. He mentioned getting rid of the slums where criminals live. Was he talking about tents or permanent residential buildings? And then the mayor has expressed an interest in clarifying how much of a focus illegal immigration enforcement is as part of this crackdown. Can you say anything about that?
Sure.
And third, any preview on the beautification?
3 questions. I'll try to answer all 3 of them pointedly for you. First, when it comes to what you said, and the president said, the slums of Washington, D.C., he's referring to the most dangerous communities, neighborhoods, and streets in this city where, unfortunately, violence has ravaged these communities and taken the lives of, again, far too many law-abiding D.C. residents. We know on July 5th of this year, just more than a month ago, a 3-year-old beautiful young girl was shot and killed in her car with her family in one of these communities, which is why there has been a surge, despite what many of you have been falsely reporting. And I believe it was the Washington Post who put out a map claiming it to be fact-based when it was just based on, I don't know, accounts that they've heard on the street, not actual statistics and data. So we went and reconfigured the numbers, and as I said, nearly half of all the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8 in the District of Columbia, where we know, excuse me, there's the highest rate of crime. So we'll continue to do that. And what was your second question, Stephen?
Legal immigration, how much of a focus that is?
Yeah, look, I mean, the focus is to make D.C. safe and beautiful, and to remove public safety threats and violent criminals from our streets. If federal law enforcement, with the help of the Metropolitan Police Department, come across illegal aliens, of course, we are going to abide by this administration's policy of law and order, and we are going to remove illegal criminals from our nation's capital. They will be detained and deported, just like they are in every other community across the country. Kristen.
First question is, whose idea was it to change the next steps from a trilateral to a bilateral meeting?
It was an idea that evolved in the course of the president's conversations with both President Putin, President Zelensky, and the European leaders yesterday. And as you saw, Kristen, with all of those European leaders leaving the White House, including the NATO Secretary General, they all agree that this is a great first step. And it's a good thing that these two leaders are going to be sitting down together, and the president expects that to happen.
And how long is Trump willing to wait and operate in good faith for Putin to actually arrange a meeting before he intervenes?
Look, the president has put tremendous public pressure to bring this war to a close. He's taken actions, as you've seen, sanctions on India and other actions as well. He's made himself very clear that he wants to see this war end, and he has scoffed at the ideas of others that have been raised that we should wait another month before any meeting takes place. The president wants to move, and he wants to bring this war to an end as quickly as possible.
Just a clarification on something you said earlier about Putin agreeing to the meeting. The Kremlin seemed to indicate that Putin did not firmly agree to a bilateral. Did he agree to have a sit down with just Zelensky on the phone?
I can assure you that the United States government and the Trump administration is working with both Russia and Ukraine to make that bilateral happen as we speak. Sean.
Pardon. Nous excusez-nous auprès de vous et nous saluons Madame, Monsieur, nous avons suivi déclaration Madame Caroline Levitt qui c'est secrétaire presse dans la Maison Blanche dans le cadre Info 13. Nous avons résumé pour rapidement l'actualité. Nous avons fait connaître malgré tout parler que vous avez entendu, je t'ai parlé trois têtes Donald Trump, Zelensky ensemble avec Poutine. Dernière information fait comprendre que il y a un chita parlé bilatéral qui pourrait réaliser entre Poutine et Zelensky. Trump a participé là-dedans. Selon information, est-ce que rencontre ça la privée gain lieu? Il est bruit que Vladimir Poutine t'a c'est la Kali en Russie, Moscou pour chita parler ça organisé alors que Zelensky pas pour aller Moscou. Donc, vous comprenez que c'est une façon pour pas organiser chita parler ça. Ou bien, est-ce que son chita parler qu'a fait dans le téléphone, nous pour connaître. Mais Donald Trump dit, ou bien, entourage Donald Trump fait comprendre que chita parler à Donald Trump pas là-dedans, c'est deux belligérants qui ont gagné pour chita parler entre eux-mêmes. Dans le téléphone ou bien en face, nous pouvons gagner des détails. Pendant ça, hier soir, là aussi, lancé une plus grosse attaque que les gens lancé pendant la période là, dans le cadre de guerre sous capitale là, côté que il y a un pile victime, il y a un pile building qui écrasé également. Nous avons regardé juste dire là, M. Sapeur-Pompier avec un pile d'eau a essayé de tuer du feu dans le building qui prend en bas missile pays là aussi dans le cadre combat SILAR. Et puis, on fait comprendre que ensemble, leader qui était présent, est parti avec satisfaction que deux autorités pour rencontrer, à savoir Vladimir Poutine, ensemble avec Volodymyr Zelensky dans le cadre de négociations pour rejoindre la paix dans la zone. Gagné là, une explosion, un bateau shipping qui explosé dans la coupe Massachusetts, pas trop loin côté que Bridjan était écrasé déjà. Eh bien, il fait comprendre que toutes 24 personnes qui étaient à bord, ils arrivé récupérer selon information. Mais il faut qu'on ait plus de détails sur qui s'est passé exactement, qui est la cause explosion bateau shipping SILAR. Député démocrate ont retourné dans la Cour Texas et autorités ont décidé pour mettre en prison, forcé pour être en dedans chambre pour que séance capable de réaliser. Dans le cas contraire, si pour quitter chambre, c'est pour d'accord sorti avec un officier de police qui accompagne eux pour capable aller la caille. Autrement, c'est pour arranger pour dormir dans le congrès dans chambre pour que yo capable arriver organiser séance. Nous sommes que nous parlé nous matin de décision pour organiser census ça, c'est seulement pour l'État de Texas alors que constitutionnellement, il a dû organiser census dans le pays d'ici l'année 2030 puisque c'est en 2020 que il a été organisé li. Donc je dis il voulait organiser seulement pour Texas dans l'idée pour permettre parti républicain li grab ou bien li flip quelques 5 sièges députés démocrates qui va venir dans le camp républicain qui va bailler majorité. Et puis, n'a pas faut connaître tout dans ça qui concerne l'actualité à toujours. La cour d'ici, Washington, li ou là, en pile l'autre site, donc 4 qui décident pour voyer l'armée ensemble avec la garde nationale à la baille sécurité dans cette là, malgré que le magistrat l'Italie devant le tribunal contre décision si la Ohio, West Virginia, ensemble avec Missouri, et ils ont même décidé pour capable monter soldats en plus sous ça qui gagnait dans la cour Washington DC. Dossier des frères, si nous continuons à faire couler l'encre, eh bien, il a fait comprendre là que le département de la justice a organisé là pour épurer le dossier, pour le capable mettre d'ailleurs une partie dans le rapport là et que la Chambre des députés lui-même lui gagné débat pour l'organiser avec quelques officiels qui étaient présents dans le cadre de dossier là. C'est dans Zouka Vigno, débat ça va organiser en dedans congrès américain. Et bien, nous avons là avec information. Nous espérons, nous sommes en que gagner en plus d'informations qui m'ont dit que pour nous, dans notre Caroline en particulièrement, obligé d'évacuer ces lots qui recevoir parce que gagner cyclone aérien qui gagne décidé pour faire des dégâts dans la zone avec gros la pluie qui est capable de tomber causer inondation. Le branche Pstars FM radio et télévision, depuis nous gagnons plus, nous avons toujours porté nouvelles pour vous. Vous connaissez ces responsabilités ça que nous gagnons. Qui est informé, mais bien informé pour capable prendre de meilleures décisions. Le branche tout le monde, n'allez.